thought I could follow my dreams. It's like they're following me, and the older I get, the farther they seem. Are they falling behind, or is it just me? I thought I could follow my dreams, but I feel like I'm between all the things that I want and I've yet to achieve, and the bills that I pay and the pressure on me. I thought I could follow my dreams and persevere through all the fatigue, but up till now I've had to concede to make ends meet. Was it all just a dream? I dreamt I would live overseas. I dreamt I would make a movie. I dreamt I would do it with these. Never thought that they'd be taken away from me. Never thought they'd be taken away from me. Never thought they'd be taken away from me. Never thought they'd be taken away. Never thought they'd be taken away. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. I start to feel anger well up, like I'm out of erupt, like I ain't enough, like I'm out of touch. Time to hang up the gloves, just give in and give up. But wait, 'cause depression is here, and he brought his good buddy fear. I'm feeling so hopeless, despair must be near. I can't take much more, but shame disappeared. Remember when you were a kid, when your worries were lessened, when you could pretend to be anything that you wanted to be. No matter what happens, still hope was your friend. I dreamt of a masterpiece. I dreamt that I'd succeed. I dreamt belief meant relief. Never thought that they'd be taken away from me. Never thought they'd be taken away from me. Never thought they'd be taken away from me. Never thought they'd be taken away. Never thought they'd be taken away. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. This is the pain in my heart that I will look back to see I didn't start. To have it together meant falling apart, and looking for beauty I gave up on art. And what about leaving my mark? Can I still make a difference and not make the charts? Or you only remembered when you were the best? Maybe making a difference means coming in last. God forbid that it ever comes true. And looking for me that I lose sight of you. I'll never find meaning apart from the truth, 'cause all of my dreaming keeps leading to you. I dreamt of my life today. I dreamt of all my days. Even though the dark remains, I'm waking again to the unending flame. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers.
Technical difficulties. Oh, I think you're muted, Ken.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth day of the All Nations Foods and Arts Festival. at Fuller. And thank you so much for coming. And today we have our special guest, Nick Clark, who is our Fuller alum. And welcome, Nick. And I'd like to do an intro of Nick Clark. So Nick Clark is an artist whose interests include writing, acting, and music. Last year at this festival, he debuted a TV pilot he wrote about a chaplain dealing with addiction called Adam Unrobed. In all his artistic endeavors, Nick attempts to create art where even in suffering and brokenness, the presence of God can be felt. He takes a lot of cues from the book of Job and Ecclesiastes. Nick also spent the last 3 years working in hospice as a spiritual care provider and supervisor, but has moved back to California before heading to Oxford, England in the fall for further theological study. You can follow him on Instagram at nclark003. Welcome, Nick. And could you just tell us a little bit of what we just heard?
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say hi to everyone. Hey, guys. Thanks for coming. Yeah, this piece is a song called Dreamt. And it was something that I wrote very early on in the pandemic. I had moved to Oregon in 2019, just before the pandemic hit. And before that, I had been living in Los Angeles, working in the entertainment industry and doing acting and writing. And kind of it was, I had just finished my seminary program and I think it's hard to finish seminary and not be in a very existential place initially. And so I, was wrestling with questions of identity and kind of what my hopes and dreams were. And leaving LA felt a little bit like, okay, I feel like I needed to do that, but I also, there was a part of me that's like, am I, copping out on my dreams? Am I caving and just getting a 9 to 5 or something like that? And then the pandemic hit, and really everything I think felt on hold. We were stuck in our apartments, and the things that we would normally do of going out with friends or going to restaurants or just any normal routines that we had suddenly seemed out of reach. And so in the midst, I was already struggling with what my calling was, what my vocation was, and then to have the pandemic hit, just really kind of thrust those questions even further. Thrust me down even further into those questions. And so, yeah, that's where Dreamt kind of came from. You'll notice towards the end of the song, there kind of, there's a moment of almost like realization, or I don't know. Sometimes I approach my songs the way I think some of the Psalms are written. David will cry out to God about what he's upset about or what he's frustrated by. And then towards the end of the Psalm, there's a return to the affirmations of what we know to be true. And at the end of the day, all my hopes and dreams, everything that I aspire to do, the deepest center of that is always getting closer to God and coming towards him. And I think even if I'm last, even if my art, like we talked about this a little bit, Ken, whether 3 people hear my song or see my play or whatever it is, or 100,000 people or however many, my goal is to just be faithful to what I feel God has called me to do. And I think that is to be creative and in all circumstances, and whether it's just for me or whether it's for the whole world, so yeah.
Amen. We're all God's vessels, and may God will overflow through you and touch our lives and spirits. So, Nick, out of so many prestigious seminaries and institutions, what brought you to Fuller? How did you come to Fuller?
Yeah, I got rejected from a bunch of other. I'm just joking. I didn't. I only applied to Fuller, but Fuller was my top pick. I was at the time living in Los Angeles, and kind of the story of my life since I was a young kid till now even has been, I've always felt like I was torn between the arts and theology, and I always felt a strong passion for both. And I remember looking back when I was 13 years old and almost feeling like I had to choose whether I was going to be an actor or be a Christian or, join the church or do these different things. And I wrestled with that for a long time about how to bring those two together. And I feel like I've definitely settled into a place now where that's not even an issue anymore. But I stumbled on the program at Fuller, which was, a Master's of Arts in Theology with an emphasis in the arts. And I started looking at some of the courses that were offered through that. And I kind of felt like I had found just a degree that was made for me. It kind of combined two things I was really interested in. And so, so it brought me to Fuller, and I was there for about 2 years, and it was great. It was a great experience.
Yeah, I have to agree. Fuller is it's a great place, and there's so many brilliant minds meet together. So,
Yeah.
how has your experience at Fuller influenced your artistic journey, Nick?
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, just kind of to go with, the last question a little bit into this question is, I remember early on, at that time, Fuller had invited Martin Scorsese to come speak about his film Silence. And even the fact that they brought someone who, the church might have considered secular, or someone who's made all these mafia movies, and why would we bring him to a Christian seminary to talk about film? That was a space that I was already moving into as an artist of, how can we as Christians, rather than make our own little parallel culture, how can we actually engage the culture in front of us and participate in the conversations being had? And so that brought me to Fuller, and then I was able to have, a lot of really amazing classes. Like, even today I was just talking at breakfast with my uncle about, I had a course in, it was television and theology, which didn't even seem like homework. Like, my homework was to watch the Dick Van Dyke Show and The Office and Breaking Bad, and to engage them from a theological perspective. It didn't feel like homework at all. It was great. I had that course. I had contemporary lit and theology, which was really, really awesome. With Dr. David Colley, got to read The Maltese Falcon, and The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis, and The Stranger by Albert Camus. And then the big one for me, one of my big ones was I did the Sundance class, where it starts off it's a hybrid course. You're online, and then we, as a group, go to Sundance, and we got to see 10 films. And when it comes to film festivals in the U.S., Sundance is like one of the big ones, and it asks a lot of really difficult questions. Most of the movies there, and they don't give you a lot of answers, which I think good art can do. It provokes kind of thought, and so, being in that context, within the courses, Dr. Calloway is another professor who was super influential for me. He wrote a great book on television and theology, and just how we as Christians can make art that doesn't need to have a nice bow tie on it. It can be honest, and actually, if we look at our own tradition, that's actually what the scripture shows. You'll notice that not every psalm, even though there's a good amount of them that end with a positive note, there's a fair amount, like Psalm 88, that end on there's no answer. It's like David's really upset, or the psalmist is really upset, and there's no answer given. Ecclesiastes, even historically, I know that some theologians think that the last chapter was kind of added on later on by another scribe, and that the initial chapters kind of end on a more cynical, like, dark space, and so it's part of our own tradition. And so as Christians, we have, I think, a calling, and the space to enter into art that does the same thing, that can be transparent about human experience, about suffering, about loss, about difficult topics or conversations, because at the end of the day, that's part of what being human is. We all go through that. So Fuller, I think, invited me into a lot of those conversations even deeper than I had already gone. The coursework, the mentorship from different professors, my classmates, friendships I made while I was there, all kind of created more space to reflect more deeply on those things.
Glad that Fuller has played a significant role in your art
Yeah.
journey. So, what are you doing with your art nowadays?
Yeah, the pandemic was a weird time for, I think, a lot of us, and through that time, I did make some things, like this song "Dreamt" came out of it. The piece that I debuted last year at this festival, I wrote a TV pilot, and so a lot of it is just kind of following where the spirit leads at the time. There's seasons where I find myself writing music. There's seasons where I find myself writing, working towards scripts. Currently, I'm gearing up to move overseas in a couple months, and so right now I'm just trying to focus on spending time with family and friends before I go. But when I do get to Oxford, part of my plan there is to kind of, take in what I'm getting there, but also really embrace that as a season of creativity and what that might turn into. And kind of on the horizon. I'm thinking, my roots for acting comes from theater. And, being in England, there's obviously a lot of great theater there. And so I'm hoping to work on maybe writing a play while I'm there. So, yeah.
Yeah. All the best to you for your journey at Oxford, and may you
Thanks. Yeah.
culture of Fuller to the campus, and then you'll be baked down by Fuller and Oxford and many, many other things. So, very, very happy for you. So, how can people view your art or admire your art? What are some of the channels they can connect with you?
Sure. Well, everyone on this group setting or is already following me, but for those that might watch this video at another point in time, you can follow me on Instagram. That's probably the best place. It's just my personal account, but I do share my music on there when it comes out, and I do try to share some other things that I'm working on occasionally. So that my Instagram handle is nclarke CLARKE 003. So you can find me at that space, and then. I also love collaborating with artists. So if there's any Fuller artists that just want to talk or collaborate or connect in any sort of way, I'm all for that. That's again, one of the things that drew me to Fuller was meeting people that were in a similar space as myself. And so, feel free to reach out on there if you'd like, or you can email me if you want to. At my Fuller email, I still have that, which is nickclarke@fuller.edu. So, yeah.
Yeah, Nick Clark, everyone. Thank you so much. Fuller's lucky to have you, and we're so thankful to have your participation in this All Nations Art and Food Festival. We hope someday we'll invite you back and to learn about your journey and
The
beyond.
next thing. Yeah. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone has any questions? Any from the audience for Nick? If not, let's revisit the song "Dreamt" that Nick composed during the pandemic, which is very meaningful to him, and I bet it's meaningful to a lot of folks. So we're gonna listen to this music to wrap up our day 4 of All Nations Food and Art Festival. Thank you for coming, everyone.
Thanks.
Okay, I need to share my screen again, and okay, bear with me.
Thought I could follow my dreams. It's like they're following me, and the older I get, the farther they seem. Are they falling behind, or is it just me? I thought I could follow my dreams, but I feel like I'm caught in between all the things that I want and I've yet to achieve, and the bills that I pay and the pressure on me. I thought I could follow my dreams and persevere through all the fatigue, but up till now I've had to concede to make ends meet. Was it all just a dream? I dreamt I would live overseas. I dreamt I would make a movie. I dreamt I would do it with ease, never thought that they'd be taken away from me. Never thought they'd be taken away from me. Never thought they'd be taken away from me. Never thought they'd be taken away. Never thought they'd be taken away. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. I start to feel anger well up, like I'm out of erupt, like I ain't enough, like I'm out of touch. Time to hang up the gloves, just give in and give up. But wait, 'cause depression is here, and he brought his good buddy fear. I'm feeling so hopeless, despair must be near. I can't take much more, but shame disappeared. Remember when you were a kid, when your worries were lessened, when you could pretend to be anything that you wanted to be. No matter what happens, still hope was your friend. I dreamt of a masterpiece. I dreamt that I'd succeed. I dreamt belief meant relief. Never thought that they'd be taken away from me. Never thought they'd be taken away from me. Never thought they'd be taken away from me. Never thought they'd be taken away. Never thought they'd be taken away. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. This is the pain in my heart that I will look back to see I didn't start. To have it together meant falling apart, and looking for beauty I gave up on art. And what about leaving my mark? Can I still make a difference and not make the charts? Or you only remembered when you were the best? Maybe making a difference means coming in last. God forbid that it ever comes true. And looking for me that I lose sight of you. I'll never find meaning apart from the truth, cause all of my dreaming keeps leading to you. I dreamt of my life today. I dreamt of all my days. Even though the dark remains, I'm waking again to the unending flame. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on. Dream on, you lifelong dreamers. Dream on, dream on.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, Matt. Thank you.
Bye, Matt. Bye, David. Bye, Ken. See you.
Stop. We can